DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. At Merck Animal Health, we're shaping the future of animal health with pioneering science, connected technology, and insights-driven solutions to bring our customers an unparalleled portfolio of choices to improve cattle care and operational efficiency. We support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. We're going to have a great show today. Today we're going to have David Bruene, who's the manager of the Iowa State Beef Teaching Unit. He's going to be on the show today. We're going to talk about forage utilization and extending that grazing season, impacts to you and your herd, and much more. Thanks for joining us.
When you spot BRD in your cattle, that's your golden opportunity to target infection and its associated fever with a single dose of Resflor Gold, the industry standard dual therapy. To learn more, talk to your Merck Animal Health rep or your vet and see label at resflorgold.com. Animals intended for human consumption must not be slaughtered within 38 days of treatment. This product is not approved for use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older, including dry dairy cows.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. I'm here with my friend and colleague David Bruene. He's the manager of the beef teaching farm here at Iowa State University, and we're on location. So if you hear a cow, you hear a calf, you hear a tractor, that's part of the gig. When I worked here at Iowa State University, David was probably one of the most knowledgeable people in our department, working with producers, with students. He's always got students working with him. He's a constant communicator and educator, and has just been a staple to the beef industry in the state of Iowa. And so I just thank you for all you do for everybody in our state.
Not a problem. It's always fun.
Yeah, it's great. Well, and he's on the Iowa Beef Industry Council. He's been on the Cattlemen's Beef Board. Just somebody that's really engaged in our industry. And you do incredible things too with beef teaching to set examples and kind of set the table for our producers. And today we're going to talk about some things about extended grazing, right?
Yep. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we will do within that grazing season to kind of set us up to extend that grazing season. You know, the problem with grazing management is that we always think about it too late. So one of the things that we've done over the years is try and really start planning for winter feed needs now in the spring, because that's really what's going to set us up for that extended grazing season. And we all know the importance of that to the bottom line, especially on cow-calf operations.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that on how that impacts the bottom line relative to someone that's out there watching. Maybe they're saying, hey, you know what, I can do this, but I want to know kind of what my return on the investment of managing this is going to be.
Yeah. So when we start to think about if we're going to look at the economics of it, we need to sit down and first off figure out where we're currently at. The most important thing is how many days are we feeding those stored feeds to those cows? What does that look like? As well as we need to really, as simple as it sounds, set some goals for where we want to go with that.
Yeah.
You know, when we first started into this, my first goal was to cut 30 days off that. And now we're to the point where we've grazed a set of cows 365 days with zero stored feed. So we need to keep in mind that it's a journey, not a destination when you start down extending that grazing season. But it all kind of pivots around a good summer grazing program. And then we're going to start adding some things in to help that producer.
The key to the economics is removing those stored feeds.
Removing those
or reducing them.
Yeah, removing those stored feeds. You know, when we look at the economics of the cow-calf business, especially, we need to keep in mind what this equipment cost has done. How much more it costs to put up that stored feed than it did even 15, maybe 20 years ago. So we try and use the cow as our machinery as much of the time as we can so that she's out there harvesting her own feed and spreading manure for us.
Absolutely. And it's not as simple with all the different weather patterns and that to find the store feed if you're not putting it up yourself.
Yep. So you need to really kind of keep an eye on that weather and know what's going on in your region to not be late to the 8 ball on getting those feedstuffs procured so that we do have that insurance policy, and it's a marketable insurance policy in the event that we don't need it.
Yep. Well, we're off and running. We're talking about extending the grazing season, decreasing your costs in the cow herd. When we come back, we're going to have David Bruene here, and we're going to talk about how you make the planning process efficient for you and your herd.
Welcome to Cattle Intel, brought to you by Neogen. And today we're going to cover a few basics and some tips on fly control and environmental cleanup. A big piece of fly control for every cattle operation is going to be environmental cleanup. Whether you've bedded with straw, you've had some leftover winter feeding sites, now is the time to clean up those bedding areas and feeding areas to ensure that we're destroying that decaying organic matter where flies like to breed and really increase the population the upcoming year. On top of that, making sure that throughout the summer months, we are knocking down some of the resting sites, tall weeds at fence lines, making sure that we're cleaning up any spilled feed around feed bunks, any type of feed handling location. So environmental cleanup is critical to make sure that we're staying on top of some of those external parasites.
Thanks for watching Cattle Intel by Neogen.
Success in the cattle business hinges on a lot of different people playing their part. From the vet to the cowboy and the nutritionist to the feed truck driver, you rely on them to get their job done right, and so do your cattle. Your expectations for the vaccines you use should be no different. Bimeda's cattle vaccines were developed and are made and sold by men and women in the cattle business. No smoke and mirrors, just real-world protection that you can rely on. Go to BimedaBiologicals.com to learn more.
From the veterinary standpoint of it, we all know that stress is a precursor to a lot of other underlying diseases. The cells in the animal's body at different points can react differently to the vaccinations or whatever we're giving them. So if we can create an animal that is less stressed, 1 pound will pay for the whole cost of the therapies right now.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. I'm here with David Bruene, and we're at the beef teaching farm at Iowa State University, where David serves as the manager and has for a long time. And that sounds like something simple, but if you looked at the number of students that work out here, the number of faculty that use this farm, the producers that come through for short courses, and all the stuff that David does for the state, it's a big job. Along with that, you're constantly looking for new ways to teach producers and help producers, and we're talking about extending that grazing season. How do we start to plan it, or what do we need to do to plan it?
Yeah, so we talked earlier briefly about we need to know how many days on average we're feeding stored feed to those cows, and then we need to look at how we have been managing that summer grazing. If we're in a scenario where we may just be doing kind of a set stock or continuous graze, the first thing that we can do really simply is start some sort of a rotation. That first rotation is when you're going to see the biggest bang for your buck on a return. We also, at the beef teaching farm, are very sensitive to the amount of labor that it takes because we have obviously a paid labor source here.
Yep.
So we have to make sure that it's efficient and that we're always getting that return. And the way that we do that is we do daily moves. We're moving that herd every day because throughout that grazing season, I want to manage the amount of available forage that there is there and always be leaving a little bit more throughout that grazing season, especially in the spring flush.
So let's just say, hypothetically, we're sitting down at the table with a producer, and they say, we want to extend our grazing season. We want to decrease that stored forage utilization. What are the first three things we need to identify?
First three things would be where the improvements are, if there are any, in our regular summer grazing program, if we have a summer grazing program. What available land do we have in the operation that may not be returning what we think it is? And here, that turned out to be some acres of perennial grass hay ground. And we could better utilize that with some annual crops to build in some drought buffer and give us the ability to stockpile some forage, as well as do some alternative winter cow feeding strategies. Thirdly, we need to sit down and make sure that our calving season and the time that we're weaning calves is appropriate for our operation. You know, if we're calving in January, an extra couple more pounds of weaning weight at selling time does not make up for all the stored feed that we had to feed those cows to keep them in condition throughout that winter.
Then I assume that you sit down and there's a formula, or there's, once you determine the number of acres, number of cows, your calving season, now it's, okay, this is how many cows we can carry.
Yep.
And this is how long we can carry them.
Yeah, so when we look at how many cows we can carry, we used to figure it on the summer. Now I'm looking at that as a season long. On, say we're going to tack on an extra 30 days, what can we do to carry those cows throughout that? And we're also going to count stored feed back to those cows. We don't just measure our carrying capacity in just the summer grazing season anymore. It's got to include all that stored feed.
Sure, and it only proves that that's going to tie straight to the bottom line as well. Performance, cow body condition score, and farm sustainability and profitability.
Definitely. We're sitting on high production corn ground, and we can grow a ton of feed for cows here, and it's pretty fun.
That's awesome. It's great. We've talked about what it is. We've talked about planning. When we come back, we're going to start to talk about how to implement practices during the grazing season to extend your grazing season. You're watching DocTalk, and we're glad you joined us.
Founded by farmers, for farmers, United Patriot Coin stands with you. Diversify your financial portfolio with precious metals, a smart investment for uncertain times. You've worked too hard not to protect your assets. United Patriot Coin, precious metals for a secure future.
In the livestock industry, castration is a common practice to ensure proper herd management. All methods are painful, regardless of the age of the animal. At Solvit, we could not ignore the clear industry need for better castration solutions. So we developed LidoBand, a novel lidocaine-impregnated elastrator, addressing the pain associated with band castration. It provides local anesthesia throughout the castration process. LidoBand, a small device that can make a big difference.
They're here, they're hungry, and they can't be stopped with ivermectin. Choose Safeguard when you deworm your cattle to take out resistant parasites like brown stomach worm, Cooperia, Nematodirus, and others. With Safeguard's efficacy, you can kill more resistant worms in your cattle, so you don't leave potential on the table. Consult your veterinarian for the diagnosis and treatment of parasitism. Then bite back at safeguardworks.com.
Ranchers, looking to elevate your pasture management game? Turn to Heinen Brothers for expert aerial application. With state-of-the-art equipment and seasoned pilots, we deliver precision treatments right to your fields. From fertilizers to herbicides, Heinen Brothers has your pasture covered. Visit HeinenBrosAg.com to learn more.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and I'm here with my friend and my colleague, David Bruene. David and I work together at Iowa State University, where David serves as the manager of the beef teaching farm here, and hundreds of students. If you're a student out there looking for a place to go to college and you're interested in cow-calf and beef production, Iowa State's a great choice because of this guy right here. Opportunity to come and learn from one of the best in the business who's doing it on a day-to-day basis. Okay, we've planned it. Now we got to do it, right?
Yep.
So learn, receive, do.
Yep.
Right? How do we start to implement this?
So the first way that we're going to start to implement that is right away in the spring. Where I see a lot through our grazing throughout the years, where I really look back and am honest at where everything kind of came off the rails, it always comes back to how we manage that spring flush. There's no secret. I think a lot of your viewers, and myself included, have been in a drought for the last couple of years. One of the things that we've changed is we really want to manage that soil moisture as best we can at the beginning of the growing season. One way that we do that is we're actually going to increase that stock density and tromp down some of that extra forage so that we can kind of pay that forward so that we have a good ground cover and thatch, and we've got some moisture later on in the growing season, and we hold more moisture. Even if we're only getting a couple of tenths, it's amazing how much help that does when you keep that ground covered in those pastures.
Yeah, I can imagine, and especially when you have the soil like we do for holding moisture.
Yep.
It's incredible. So what's step 2?
Step 2 would be we need to monitor that leaf area throughout the growing season.
Okay.
We want to make sure that we have adequate recovery on those plants before we're coming back in and grazing again with those cows. What we don't want to do is start grazing too early. So one thing that we will do to combat this is we'll have built-in drought buffers into our system with warm season crops. We're sitting here in the upper Midwest. We don't grow a whole bunch of warm season native grass, so we use a lot of warm season annuals. We can produce a ton of feed on a small amount of acreage, and it gives us some relief on those pastures if we need it. If we don't, it's a really great marketable feed stuff that we can put up, utilize it in the winter if we need to, or it can tie into how we feed those cows in the middle of the winter.
When you're setting up your paddocks and your grazing system, how do you determine how many cows, how big the area is, how do I start to think about that?
Yeah, so here what we've done is we've gone to about 5-acre paddocks is about right for 80 cows that we've got, then one grazing group. And we're going to shoot to utilize about a quarter of that available forage when we measure that sward height. And we're going to monitor that sward height throughout the season. And then we're going to always shoot to just be trimming that back all the time to keep it young, vegetative, and growing.
So you'll go out and the sword stick is something that measures the canopy or the amount of forage that's there in a 1 meter by 1 meter square.
Yep.
And then if it's 12 inches, you'll graze it 3 and then move.
Yep, we do daily moves here so that we keep those cows moving across that farm and we have enough adequate rest. How long you're going to be in a paddock is going to be determined by how long you can rest the one you just came off of.
Right. Well, I think that leaves us at a good place to take a pause and come back, and then I want to talk about your fencing and how you're doing this. You're watching DocTalk. We're glad you joined us. It's great to have David Bruene on the show. Hey folks, for your firearm and ammo needs, for gun safes and much, much more, and to have it personalized, come visit us at United Patriot Supply outside of Seneca, Kansas. You can also visit us online at unitedpatriotsupply.com. Be sure to say that Dr. Dan and DocTalk sent you, and we'll see you down the road.
Hey, I'm Clark Victory. I grew up right here on this little ranch near Chelsea, Oklahoma. Roped and ranched all my life. A few years ago, I had an injury that created what they call a frozen shoulder. And after speaking with the surgeon in Tulsa, he told me that he could make my shoulder better if he did surgery, but he absolutely couldn't fix it. And I called Kansas Regenerative Medical Center. I did the stem cell replacement. By 12:30, my wife and I had lunch and was driving back to Chelsea. We work around here. Some days we work pretty hard around here, and my right shoulder doesn't get sore. It's like a baby's arm.
The cost of an open cow these days is very expensive. It's hard at times to dedicate a half a day or a whole day to leave your practice to go palpate cows. And so Alertus Test has helped speed the process up of getting preg rates back to the owners. And so free up time for diagnostics or working in your clinic. It also will help generate revenue, not being on site to do the testing.
When it comes to treating BRD, you want a product that you can count on to get the job done at an affordable price. Macrocin by Bimeda delivers on both. A straight shooting, no BS tulathromycin that does what it's supposed to do. End of story. You don't need to take our word for it though. Go to macrocin.com for customer testimonials and head-to-head trial results. For your cattle and your bottom line, choose Macrocin.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with David Bruene. David is the manager of the beef teaching farm at Iowa State University and has been for quite a while. Great colleague and an extremely knowledgeable cowman. And I want to jump into this because I want to get to some of this, but how do you do your fencing?
Yeah, so we utilize a lot of electric fence, but we still have rigid perimeters. Our fencing is constantly evolving and changing. It's been kind of a journey through since the late 70s with my predecessor. We utilize a lot of high tensile wire on some perimeters, but we have gone to keeping the divisions really flexible because it allows us to change that paddock size in accordance to what we're seeing the grass growth at. And we can also change the amount of cows that we're putting in there for stock density. So that's really the secret to our grazing system, is highly flexible, that doesn't take a lot of time and a lot of labor to do it. We utilize poly wire or some of the stranded braided product, the small stuff, not the big equine stuff.
Yep.
Geared reels, step-in posts, and flexible watering points.
So are you moving the fence to move the cows, or are you moving the cows into a new fenced area?
So we have some of each. The easiest is when you have a new fenced area, but that leaves us really rigid in our system design. So we try and set all of our new ones up in divisible by 25 acres so that we can go down to divisibility by 2.5 acres and change that in accordance to what we're seeing with flexible polywire and step-in posts. I don't like any run of fence over about 600 feet because it gets a little cumbersome at that point.
And I can imagine that you're not only extending your grazing season, but you're also able to have more cow intensity per like 80 acres.
Yep, way more cow intensity. In a year with adequate rainfall, we can hit 0.6 of an acre per cow-calf pair unit in a grazing season very easily. And it's because we're so flexible in our fencing. We've got great soil, we run a great fertilization program, and we manage our pasture like a crop.
So, you know, now I see it, we get it. And we can see where you're extending this because you're constantly rejuvenating your forage. What's the best way if someone is wanting to get help or wanting to get started with this, what would be your recommendation to them?
Reach out to somebody in your region that's doing it, that you like. Watch your guys and your operators that are running around renting pastures. Look at those in about end of July, August. It's really evident who knows how to manage a pasture and is doing a good job and who's not. Reach out to your extension, reach out to the private grazing consultants that are out there, but make sure that you're using really good information that's backed in science. Some of the information out there is a little bit more based in myth, and I try and avoid that. But get next to somebody who's been doing it and understands it for your region, because this is so weather dependent on what you've got in your area.
And what has always amazed me about what you have provided and the information, but you're able to even, I hate the term farm grass.
Yep.
But what you're doing with annuals versus just the old whatever comes up mentality is changing beef production.
Oh, we hope so.
There's no doubt. And anyway, thanks for being on the show today.
It's always fun.
It's always great to have David Bruene here. Again, go on the website, check out the Beef Teaching Farm, Iowa State. Look for him on Facebook. He has some great tips that they do on Facebook Live and different things to help you as beef producers. Thanks for watching Doc Talk. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian. And if you want to find us on the web, you can find us at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson with David Bruene from Iowa State University, and we'll see you down the road.
At Merck Animal Health, we're shaping the future of animal health with pioneering science, connected technology, and insights-driven solutions to bring our customers an unparalleled portfolio of choices to improve cattle care and operational efficiency. We support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.
We have fed for the same customers for the last 10 years. I know their cattle. Sometimes cattle can come in a little wild, long haul cattle. Those types of cattle can get therapies to help those settle in better. And we have also adapted that a lot of our sick cattle, by the time a cowboy pulls them from their pen, drives them to a hospital, and then either getting returned to the hospital or returning to the home pen, I believe that's a lot of stress on the animal. So anything that's been treated gets therapies, and we have seen success with that as well.